alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Subbiyal Nadeem with the Light TV. Today we're going to be talking about fasting and training in Ramadan, and today I have a very special guest with us, Jonah Lane. How are you doing, Jonah?
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
Go ahead, tell us about yourself a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm a professional personal trainer. I work over at a luxury gym, and I'm currently certified under Lionel University, which was formerly the ISSA, College of Exercise Science. And fitness is really important to me because I think that once you have mastery over your fitness, you can have mastery over a lot of areas in your life. I think that your core is your body, so you need to take care of your body. But I believe that fitness there's no one right way to do it. It's about figuring out how to best suit it to your lifestyle. And that's my philosophy regarding fitness. So that's definitely going to be how a lot of my opinions are shaped during this talk.
Of course, and in Ramadan, a lot of people seem to forget that taking care of your body and training and exercising is also a form of ibadah. It's a very important form of ibadah and worship to take care of your body that Allah has gifted us. Because at the end of the day, we have to remember that these bodies that we have, we borrow these from Allah. We don't stay on the world forever, and it's important for us to take care of these. Now, a few questions people have is alternatives to training during Ramadan. For the normal average person, how would you recommend their training and exercise and diet regimen to be during Ramadan while they're fasting?
So the first problem you have to tackle is figuring out your energy when you're training. So, of course, food is fuel. So when it comes to figuring out the issue of timing when you're going to work out, I believe that it's best to work out closer towards the night when you're going to break your fast. If you do it too early on, let's say in the morning, sure, you would have had your earlier meal, the meal that you start the day off with to fuel you, but then you have the remainder of the day to go through. Now that's difficult because, working out is very tiring. You expend a lot of energy, so going throughout the day, you're thinking, man, I'm hungry, my muscles are tired, your muscles are screaming at you, I need food, I need fuel. But if you do this in the evening, closer to your fast, now you know that in the next hour you're going to have one big meal. You can get in lots of protein that you need to recover. And you won't be as fatigued throughout the day if you time your training for then. I'm sure we can all think of a time when maybe you went on a long run or you got in a very vigorous workout and maybe you weren't able to get in a meal over the next few hours and you just felt drained throughout the day. So definitely closer to when you're breaking your fast in the evening.
So overall, Jonah's recommending breaking your fast closer towards iftar. Even I've experienced this while I was training in boxing, that I would train an hour before iftar. A lot of times we see in fighters or people who are practicing sports, they train an hour before iftar, whether it's practicing conditioning or flexibility or overall just getting training in before it's time to open their fast. Now, another thing I wanted to talk to you about is there are a lot of people who've been asking me or who have been asking you about how to gain muscle during Ramadan or maintain their muscle mass. They're not eating for most of the day, and they also find an excuse in Ramadan not to train during Ramadan because they're not eating or getting enough protein. How would you recommend them maintaining their muscle or increasing muscle mass during Ramadan?
Okay. So this goes back to my philosophy of really figuring out how to best suit your diet to your lifestyle. You know that there's this Ramadan and then there's going to be the Ramadan next year. You have to figure out how to live with it. And that's also going to be figuring out how to tailor your diet to your fitness goals when you're training. When it comes to maintaining muscle, you need to make sure, you need to prioritize that those 2 times that you have to eat, you need to be getting in a lot of protein. These are valuable time periods for you to really get in the nutrients that you need, as well as making sure that you're staying consistent with your training. Now, it's going to be when it comes to gaining muscle, we need to make sure that you're hitting a calorie surplus, because when we think about building muscle, the body doesn't inherently want to build muscle, right? Muscle is a very demanding tissue. So if you have more muscle, the body needs more energy. Back then, before we had the luxury of walking to the grocery store, the body really needed to conserve energy. So basically, if you want to go from a 2-bedroom house to a mansion, you need to eat like you're trying to build a mansion. So you need to make sure with these 2 periods that you have to eat, you really are just optimizing your time spent. So having these meals prepared, ready, with a priority given to protein. It's difficult.
Yeah.
When you're not fasting, it's very difficult to to eat in a way to put on muscle, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So
Another thing I wanted to ask you is a lot of time when people are fasting, they open their fast, they resort to eating junk food, they're eating samosas, pakoras, and they're eating stuff that's not good for their digestive system or not good for their health. Now, what do you recommend people to open their fast with, or what they should eat, or how much high protein foods they should have? What type of food should they be eating? They don't want to waste that time they have and just be eating junk food within the training time.
So definitely prioritize like the lean meats. Lots of lean meat, so that's your chicken, that's going to be your beef. And of course, even though there's priority given to that, make sure that these meals are balanced. Overall, whether you're gaining muscle, people talk about bulking, you still don't want to eat junk. So have these planned and know that you're doing yourself a disservice if you're eating these unhealthy foods. And unhealthy is already a broad term, but thinking of a meal that's overall imbalanced, because you know that you're going into the next day without as much the energy that you need to, one, go throughout the day, but also to get in a very tough and an efficient workout session. So know that when you're eating these fried foods, although they're good, it's okay to allow yourself that one night where you're indulging. That's really the pleasure of life, but overall know that you can't do it too much. It's always moderation. So balanced meal, priority given to the lean meats, protein. Because protein is everything when it comes to regeneration. Your muscles, the body, it needs protein to rebuild. That's hypertrophy is the binding, which is hypertrophy is muscle gain, is the binding of protein to these damaged muscle tissues so that they can rebuild and get stronger.
Of course. And there's also a few kids who ask me, a lot of young kids, they're scared to eat dates or they don't like the taste of dates. Now, when I was younger, this was the same issue for me, but then I found out the benefits of dates. Prophet Muhammad talks about the benefits of dates and how there's potassium in dates, and a lot of people don't understand what the benefit in eating dates are, opening your fast on dates. So can you just go into depth a little bit what the benefits of potassium are that dates have?
Oh, well, potassium is so valuable in the process of the contraction of your muscle, the regulation of the contraction of your muscles. Contraction is basically flexion. This is contraction of muscles, the activation of your muscles. If you don't have enough potassium in your bloodstream, available potassium in your bloodstream, this can lead to cramps, muscle cramps. This can lead to the feeling of muscle weakness. It is so important within that process that you need to make sure that if you feel as if you're not getting in enough potassium, you're figuring out the foods that are very high in it that you can supplement your diet with. Because you don't want to, let's say you're a runner, you don't want to run a few miles and then have your run get interrupted with a muscle cramp. You don't want that. You don't want to go through a very tough training session where you're squatting heavy and go through a muscle cramp because, one, cramps already hurt on their own, and if you fail that lift with heavy weight, now that weight can fall on you. And this applies to even if you're not an athlete, even if you're not training hard, you want to be able to go through and be able to perform the daily functions of life, which it can be picking up your kids, it can be if you're moving houses, lifting boxes, going on a walk, pushing your car. You need to make sure that you're able to do this in an efficient manner with the necessary minerals and nutrients that your body needs. Potassium, as I said, the one that you need to give your muscles what they need to contract. So don't be afraid of dates. Don't be afraid of these foods that can be such a valuable tool for your diet. It's always really beneficial to have such a wide, I guess, array of tools in your arsenal. Doesn't mean you have to overindulge. Of course, even your favorite food can become something that you dislike if you eat it enough times, but at least mixing it in every now and then, making it,
yeah, of course,
enriching your diet.
And even it's important to be getting the nutrients that you need to be eating dates, watermelons, or staying hydrated. So now one thing I want to ask you is how would you recommend people staying hydrated? Because they feel like they have a small period and gap of time within after opening up iftar and tarawih, and then they end up going to sleep. What foods they should be eating to stay hydrated? What should they be drinking? And because a lot of people, they're training and they're also burning those calories and they're sweating and they're dehydrating themselves. So how do you recommend people staying hydrated during Ramadan while training?
And just like energy, water is such a valuable resource. I think it's important to make sure that we're drinking a lot of water, but don't make it imbalanced. Don't drink not that much water during the night, and then you wake up and you're realizing, oh no, I haven't had enough water throughout the day. Let me quickly just chug as much as I can. You need to make sure that your body has water ready to go once you wake up. Water needs to be pulled to eat every single tissue throughout your body for your body to function. Water not being present in your tissues is what is perceived as thirst. So at night, drink a lot of water. Morning, drink a lot of water. If you can help it, do your best not to do too much exercise. So let's say if you're a runner, once again, run closer to the evening. Do your best to make sure that your heart rate is staying down, that we're not sweating too much, that we're not expending too much moisture, and so that you really can just do yourself the favor of not dehydrating yourself through the day, because that's just going to make it so miserable. So you break your fast in the evening. First thing is water, of course your protein. You wake up in the day, you have that glass of water next to your nightstand. Make it easy for yourself. Make all of these things easy for yourself.
Yeah, try to get as much hydration in before Fajr time, before it's too late. So throughout the day, you're not struggling and you're thirsty, and then you train, and then it's even worse for you.
And then, honestly, even going back, let's talk about the foods that you choose. When it comes to, I guess, what you can consider unhealthy foods, if you eat a lot of salty foods, now salt is very valuable because it pulls water to the muscles. You need water available in your muscles when you work out. But once again, it pulls water away from you when you have a high salt diet. So if you're able to limit your salt, you can help yourself stay hydrated, because if high salt diets are going to lead to more thirst. I'm sure we can think of like the Dasani.
A lot of people, they're drinking Dasani waters, or they're eating chips which are high in sodium, and they're not really aware that these chips and these snacks, they're dehydrating your body. And then kids wonder later on throughout the day why they're so thirsty. You had like 5 bags of chips, maybe that's why. And people need to consider the foods they eat in Ramadan as well, because it actually makes fasting for yourself harder. And the goal is overall to eat healthier, to eat better, not to struggle during fasting, not to struggle during Ramadan, so you're good during your training. And overall, just try to eat more sunnah foods, or foods that are good for you, have good nutrients, and make sure to follow these steps. Now, is there anything else you would overall recommend for people who are trying to gain muscle or train or maintain during that time period?
Let's talk about exercise selection. So you can love to squat heavy. You can love to deadlift, but these are all very tiring exercises. They get the heart rate going. It's going to get you sweating. It tires out the whole system, not just the targeted muscles. So it would be very beneficial to at least consider changing up the way that you train when it's Ramadan, when you're fasting. So maybe if I want to target my quads, I'm not squatting as heavy, or not necessarily squatting as heavy. Maybe instead of squatting, I choose the leg press. Maybe I opt for more machines. Exercises that have me sitting and relaxing, I wouldn't say relaxing, but sitting down and not requiring as much core engagement. Exercises that don't get your heart rate as elevated because you sweat, loss of moisture, and then your energy is already as limited as it is because you haven't eaten as much as you would. So when it comes into your exercise selection, make sure that the stimulus to fatigue ratio is ideal for you. So let's talk about alternatives to deadlifts. You can go for your leg curl on the machine. You can do hip bridges or hip thrusts instead of the squats. Like I said, leg press, leg extensions. Stay away from the lunges. Make it easier for yourself. And then if you're a cardio athlete, an endurance athlete, it can be beneficial to, say, for example, move from running just for that period of time. If you're able to, switch to something like cycling. Cycling is a lot lower impact. It doesn't require as much muscle recruitment as running. It's a lot more efficient for when it comes to energy expenditure.
And overall, would you recommend people doing body weight exercises or calisthenics during Ramadan or during these periods?
Definitely.
A lot safer, you feel like?
Definitely safer, because going back to that example of when you're lifting heavy weights, going heavier also increases your chances of injury. A lot of these injuries happen when we're working with heavy weights. You think of squatting, think of all of that, what's called an axial load, the load on your spine. You have heavy weights. If there's for a moment where you're tired and you disengage your core, now you have a lower back injury. Same thing with deadlifts. So bodyweight exercises are just as viable, because as long as you know the proper ways to progress the difficulty of them, one, of course, you'll be on track for your muscle gain. Two, if you mess up a push-up, you're a lot less likely to tear a muscle than if you were to mess up a bench press. And it's also very accessible. You can do it from the comfort of your home. You don't have to spend the time and energy getting to the gym. And then in the context of fasting, since you're already home, let's say it comes evening time, you're ready to eat. You don't have to take time out of your day, valuable time that could be spent eating or preparing food, going back home from the gym. You're already home. And I'm a very big fan of calisthenics, bodyweight exercises in general, because that's how I got started. It's a very, very, very viable form of exercise.
Yeah, of course. And, you know, here at the masjid, I have a lot of kids that we have been teaching recently. We've been teaching some wrestling and boxing classes, a lot of kids who've been wanting to learn how to fight. So what would you recommend I include in their regimen for these kids who are fasting during Ramadan, but they're still learning how to box and they're learning how to wrestle?
Martial arts is just like weight training, very, very, very cardiovascular, lots of endurance involved. So make sure that you're giving them proper rest times to be able to get their heart rate down. Give them the chance to get their heart rate down so they're not sweating as much, so that they're not hitting that whole system, that system fatigue. Yeah. System failure being the heart rate not quite being able to keep up with your exercise. So I wouldn't, apart from augmenting the rest times, I wouldn't really deviate from the training plan, because an ideal training plan, you need to make sure that you're staying consistent with what you're doing, because consistency, one, allows you to measure your progress. So if you know that you're going to be doing leg press on Monday, you can see how heavy you're going. If you know that you're going to be doing this routine in boxing, you can intuitively track or measure, well, how much better am I getting at this particular technique? But yeah, just make sure they have their rest times. They'll be good. Okay.
So overall, we're highlighting different topics in this video today. We were talking about how to train during Ramadan, how to maintain muscle, how to have alternatives, how to eat better. And another thing we wanted to talk about is why it is important to maintain your health in Islam. A lot of people don't realize this, and they let go of this, and that it's also a form of ibadat. Now, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam also, he encouraged exercise. He encouraged people to take care of their bodies. We know from a lot of the companions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, they wrestled, they did archery, they went to ride horses. So during this Ramadan, I encourage everybody to go try something new, to try to go do learning some wrestling, or to try new sports, or to try different things to take care of their body, and also consider this a form of ibadah, to have this intention to take care of your body because Allah gave you this body, and this is a body that you have to maintain and respect and take care of, and to treat your body like a temple, to essentially take care of it. And now, is there any other extra activities? Just some kids, they get bored of exercise, or they don't want to go to the gym. We have a few kids who might not necessarily want to do wrestling or boxing. What would you recommend for them? How do we get the attention of these young kids to want to take care of their body and their health for this sort of intention and sake?
Well, when it comes to cardiovascular exercise, the best form of cardio for you is the one that you enjoy the most, because that's one that you're going to be sticking with for the long term. That's the most important thing about fitness, is figuring out what can I do for the long term, because fitness is a long-term journey. Life is a long-term journey. So if you hate running, you don't have to run. You can cycle. If you hate wrestling, you don't have to do wrestling. You can swim. Same thing with strength training. If you do not like to go and lift weights, deadlift, squat, then you can do your push-ups. You can do your pull-ups. If you don't like that, you can do Pilates. Pilates is also a very valuable form of strength training. There's also a lot of different alternative forms of strength training, like gyrotonics, so many different methods.
Plyometrics as well.
Plyometrics, that's a lot of your powerful, explosive jumping movements. There's so many different things that you can do. And it'd be a disservice to yourself not to at least figure out what works best for me, because then that'll make the journey a whole lot easier for yourself. And more than choosing the most elite routine, we don't have to train like an Olympian, so don't do that to yourself. You have to figure out, what do I enjoy? Make this as easy and convenient for yourself as you can. So that's the best I can offer.
Okay, that sounds good. I've also had a few people ask me that wanted to get into personal training and get certified. How would you recommend they approach this, and how would they go about becoming a certified personal trainer?
Well, the first thing is ask yourself why you want to become a personal trainer. Being a personal trainer is very service-oriented. You have to figure out, I mean, what can I offer to people? How do I want to enrich their lives? Because at the end of the day, you're taking on a huge responsibility. Someone is trusting you with their fitness, and you need to figure out, what am I going to have them do now? What is this going to lead to? It can be tiring thinking about this. So know what you're getting into. Also, come with it with the mindset of humility. Know that I don't know everything. There's always something I can learn. If I'm coaching someone and they say that they don't like this exercise, they feel like something's not working for them, don't think they're not following the program. This is the way to do it. If they would just listen to me, they would get healthy and fit. Maybe there is something wrong with the process, so always adapt, be dynamic. And then when it comes to actually going through the certification, there's a lot of resources online. There's also a lot of gyms that are willing to invest in your education so that you can enrich their gyms, their gym culture, and the members that go to their gyms as well. So always be looking for these opportunities. And then when it comes to experience, you can start off by training your friends. Of course, it all starts with your own fitness, so maybe you can take this chance, if you don't already consider yourself to be very fit, enrich your own fitness. Figure out what works for you. And then, like I said, take that to your friends. Maybe you can start training people for free. Your friends and family, maybe your mother or maybe your brother is struggling with their health. You can help them a lot with their health. Sometimes a lot of people, more than expertise, they need someone that supports them. That's what people want in their fitness. Not everyone is going to say, you can do it, I really believe in your fitness. There's going to be a lot of people that say, maybe you go to a restaurant, do you really have to order that dish at a restaurant? Eat healthy. Go all out, eat this fried food. So know how to support people, because more often than not, as a personal trainer, you're going to be the only person in your client's life that is telling them you can do it. That is being the one person that says to them, as long as you work hard, you can do this for yourself. Some people really don't think that they can do it. So that's, yeah. Okay. I got a little sidetracked there, sorry.
No, it's good. It's all good. So one more question I had.
Yeah.
There's a lot of older guys who are in the Pakistani community or in the community around us. We see that when the older they get, they seem to forget about taking care of their health. They either prioritize their job or making money, but they're unhealthy or they're not happy with their fitness lifestyle. What would we recommend for them? Someone who's older than us, in the older generation, how would we get them on track when it comes to fitness and taking care of their well-being in their body?
Well, it's always about figuring out where you're at, because once you know where you're at, you can progress. Of course, someone that is older may not be able to perform the same movements with the same intensity as someone that's younger and is able to recover faster. So always take it slow and steady, in a very controlled manner, progress the intensity. And then when it comes to finding the motivation, in my personal experience, I've worked with a lot of older people actually, and a lot of them can't even get up from a sitting position without maybe external assistance or without using their hands. Some people can't even pick up their kids, their grandkids. Some people can't walk up the stairs without feeling winded. Understand how fulfilling strength is. Strength is the fountain of youth. Strength really is the fountain of youth. So it is important for you to be strong, not only for yourself, but for those that you love. And always listen to your body. If something hurts while you're strength training, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stop. It just means that you need to go easier. And then also understanding the nutrition. Nutrition for older people is a lot different for nutrition than younger people, especially when we talk about women's fitness. There's a lot of hormone changes involved. So really just having the education and having the care and the patience to really experiment and go through a lot of these changes is really valuable for taking control of your fitness, because especially when you're older, strength and fitness can be a matter of, in the near future, although it is upset to talk about, but a reality, it can be a life or death case. It really can. So it's everything. It should be one of the top priorities of your life, honestly.
That was a lot of good knowledge you just dropped on us, and I appreciate that. So I hope everyone benefited from this program. I hope we encourage you to try a sunnah sport, or to try to take care of your body with the right intention of having ibadat, and overall to eat healthier, exercise better, look better, and feel better. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.